Grace Bible Institute Sunday School edition, or shall I say experience. Um, like I said last week, we're going to be talking about your children, setting them up for success in school, because all things are not equal. I mean, let's just tell the truth. All things are not equal. So last week we covered, and basically like Proverbs 20:26, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So that includes everything, even with education. If you give them the love for learning, and they see, we had so many, I'm just gonna, because we didn't finish, we had so much, but the discussion was amazing. Um, Cultivate a love for learning, make it fun, visit libraries, museums, encourage curiosity. That alone will do a lot. I want you all to chime in and give us, if you had a child that started preschool or kindergarten or grade school, high school, whatever level, what did you do to set your child up for learning, for succeeding in education in school? Build essential skills like pre-literacy skills, fine motor skills. Pre-literacy. They teach. We were talking last week. They don't teach phonics anymore, so you can teach your child phonics. Phonics is basically sounding the words out, so that they can just. Because I think now they just teaching them look at the word and just say it. That way, if they don't know the word, they will struggle. But if they know phonics, they can be able to say any word. Because if you learn a different language, because when I was taking up Spanish, you know the alphabet, and you know what each alphabet sounds like. So when you see a word that you may not know, you can still use phonics in that when you learn in a different language. Except for, I think German was totally different, because my professor said that even some Germans look at a word and they don't even know how to pronounce it. And if you see it, imagine having to write it with the umlauts in the right spot. So, introduce counting shapes. I think Sister Jackie said that she used dominoes blocks to teach her child counting, the fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, social skills. That is very important, because if you have an only child, if they're used to just being the only child and this all their toys, learning how to share is something that they may not develop. But social skills, create a supportive environment. We always say, it takes a village to raise a child, because you may not know everything, but your village may know some things that you don't know. Establish a routine. Children, they thrive on routines. They need to have schedule and knowing what's coming up, what to expect, because that gives them a sense of safety and security. Designate a study space that's specifically theirs, because if they have to fit in wherever they can, someone else might be using it and they might need it at the time. Encourage independence. Encourage independence. Allow children to make choices and take age-appropriate responsibilities. Prioritize emotional well-being. Help them manage their stress. Build resilience. Communicate with the school. Let them know you, and you know them. Develop a relationship with the teachers and get an understanding, and so they'll know that you are their support too, because they need it. They're not there. I was talking with someone recently who used to be a school teacher, but they retired, and they were saying, the teacher's job is not to parent your child. They're there to teach them. And if they have to parent some kids, that's going to take away from other kids in doing their job. Build self-confidence. Help them feel good about themselves and their abilities. Teach self-control. Manage emotions and impulses. Encourage them to ask for help. Teach them to advocate for themselves when they need support. Don't be afraid to let them make mistakes. My mother used to always say, why do you think they put erasers on the other side of the end of the pencil? Because you're going to make mistakes. This is life. You don't know all the answers, especially at this age. You don't know many things. Mistakes are valuable learning opportunities. And if you teach them that mistakes is a learning opportunity, that gives it a different perspective for them. By focusing on these key areas, you can help your child develop the skills, the confidence, and the mindset they need. We were talking, the discussion got real live last week, and the bottom line was, yes, being a parent is not easy. That is 24/7, 365 job that lasts your lifetime. Your lifetime. Because even if you're 70 and your child is 50 or 30, 40, you still that child's parent, and you will look on them as their parent and worry about them and be concerned about them as their parent. When your child is in preschool, surround them with books and read to your child every day. Let your child see you reading also. Turn off the television and the computer. Definitely. Good morning, Sister Geneva. Good morning. Give the children opportunity to play with toys that allow them to develop creativity. Because not telling my age, but when I was little, they didn't have toys that did things. I had a doll that did nothing, but I wanted to feed her. So I broke a plastic fork and made a hole in her mouth and mushed up some crackers in water because I wanted to feed my baby. So you got to use your imagination, because you see in kids nowadays, they don't have much of an imagination because the tablet and everything just does it for them. So they're not given the opportunity to develop that or to showcase it. It says, for instance, Play-Doh, crayons, building blocks, and now everything is what's the little, it's like the building blocks, Legos. Everybody's with the Legos. Do things with that. Build things with that. So, see what they can come up with the Legos. Or go old school and get the building blocks. They never go out of style. What they say, what old always come up new again. And when they bring it, when they do something new, they think, look what I've discovered. And it's usually something that's been around for 30, 40, 50 years or more. And also give them plenty of unstructured time to just run around and play and be kids. Sit quiet and also run outside. Let them sit quietly and read or create new games. Because like I said, when I was little, I was the youngest. So when my mother had to go places, I was with her. And if she was at the doctor's office or whatever, good morning, Sister Bell. I didn't have a book. I didn't have a toy. I didn't have anything. I had to sit next to her, and I was expected to sit there and be quiet. I was not looked to be entertained, because her expectations of me was to just sit there and just be quiet. Teach your child to listen and follow directions. Good morning, Mitzi. So, like I said, we talked last week a lot about being a parent. And someone brought up that, sometimes you do need a break. Well, that's why you have your support system, because that way and you trust your support system, and you are on the same page, because they know how you want, your child raised, and they're not going to teach them something that you are not in agreement with. So it is important. Good morning, Evangelist Wiley. And anyway, so it is important that you build the village, build your village for your children, so they know. Because I'm of the thought that the more people that love your kids, the better. If you can love on, if more people can love on your child, that is good. Good morning, Deacon. Sister Jackie, I quoted you. I spoke about you earlier. When your child is in elementary school. So like I said, I want you to give me some ideas on what you did to your children to prepare them for, like now we're on elementary school. What did you do to prepare your child for success? Because, the saying is, what's the phrase? School to prison pipeline. And they say that if your child is in third grade and they don't read at a third grade level, the teachers just basically give up on them. So they're just looking to them as their next level would be prison. I can't agree with that. I have a problem with that. So that's why I want to spend this month talking about that. So if somebody has a small child, or your child has passed all these levels, what suggestion can you give to them that will help make their child experience more successful? Sister Jackie, you have something to say?
Well, what I used was Walgreens and Five Below. What I used was Walgreens and Five Below.
Okay.
And they have books for kids in elementary school, from kindergarten to third grade. So when my daughter was in Head Start, she did kindergarten work.
So you went ahead.
I went ahead.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I would buy books. We had a Walgreens where I lived on the corner, and Phil would walk and go get those workbooks for me. And that's how I taught her. And then I bought dominoes to teach her math.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. And that is important and get a library card. Get a library card. And because I said it many times, I'm a geek. I'm proud. Going to the library, for me, I will get lost. I'll be in the library and be like, oh my God, I've been here for 2 hours. It don't even feel like it. I can get lost in the library. Give me a book and sit down. When I see, it does something to me. So, Sister Geneva and Sister Carolyn, whatever idea that you use for your kids. Because these are all of our kids. And we want to make sure that they have a successful experience during this time. And, go to the library. Like you said, get the books. I'm in agreement with that. Get them a grade ahead, so they can work up to that. Like I said, it takes a village, because, teaching them how to tell time. And when you see the old clock with the numbers, they don't know how to tell that. Yeah, they see, okay, I hope they are joking, because I was told, I don't remember this, I told that one of my sisters is the one that taught me how to tell time. I'm thankful for that, but you cannot do it on your own, is basically what we're saying. You cannot do it on, because that is a task. Because they say the child learns from 0 to 3, they learn so much in those few little years. Think about it, they learn how to eat, they learn how to walk, talk, understand. They learn in a language. And I see a lot of people are teaching infants sign language. When they want to eat, they, do like this. They teach them sign language until they learn the words. Eat. They can do sign language to let them know this is what I want. Put their needs out there. And I think that is absolutely, amazing. I guess if I had kids, they would have been mad at me because I would have been like, okay, you're going to learn some languages. You're going to learn. But it is important, like we say, structure your schedule so your child is able to sleep at least 10 hours each night. Michael Wiley was like, 10 hours? When you think about it, if you put your child to bed at 8 o'clock, what time do they get up? 6, 7? That is 10 hours. And then when they're younger, they also get a nap because people fail to realize they're still growing. They're still, when you had babies and they slept more than maybe 23 hours a day because, they up for a few minutes and they eat, they do their business and they back to sleep. They may, cool with you, whatever, but the kids need that sleep so that they're still growing. And it's important for them to get their sleep. Evangelist, did you have something to say? You have 2 big old boys. What did you do? And you're an educator, so what did you do to help your... You know what? Okay, go ahead. I'm going to tell you something on that.
I'm a mess. But no, you know what? Jackie was right. I did get them books, but the one thing as I tried with one, so I have 2 totally, and if you know the boys, they're 2 totally different personalities.
Yes.
I have one that is really, he's a rule follower. That's the young one. Gabe was okay. That Michael was very smart, but he was everywhere. His ability to have those social skills, for proximity, it took him a little bit longer.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I so appreciate was now understanding on both sides of the coin that the foundation in church is important.
Yes.
It's important because they learned in Sunday school or in different things in church how to sit down. We don't play.
Yes.
Which means if I sit you in a class with a teacher, you're going to respect the teacher.
Right.
If you don't respect the teacher, you got to deal with me.
Exactly.
Now, if you have an issue, then you call me and I deal with the adults. You know what I'm saying? Teaching them basic social skills, even if they don't have like the ability to have someone at home to give them extra. See, a lot of times we measure, families based on their ability to do extra at home. But if your extra is just teaching them the social skills and the ability to sit down and respect the adults or that in the room,
valuable.
That is a great,
valuable.
That's a great thing.
Yes.
It's valuable.
Yes.
And they take that wherever they go.
Yes.
The teacher can teach them academics.
Yes.
But
exactly.
It is so hard when you're teaching academics and social structure. You know
yes.
what I'm saying? So that's it.
That's what we discussed that. Good morning, Johnny Singleton. We were discussing structure. Kids need structure to feel secure. And they also, and I said I was going to tell you, Evangelist, she has this saying that's always, the Bible says you beat them, they won't die. I taught a parenting class, and I had a parent in there basically said the same thing you said. And I mentioned you in that class I sure did. And I said, okay, it was a 6 weeks class. I said, by the end of this 6 week, I want to hear you say opposite. And and she did. She did. She did. Well, see, that's what we were talking about last week is, when you start from very beginning, yeah, they cute, but they not so cute that they can't get said no to. Everything is not cute. And like I said, I had a friend who let her child, she would take a bite at home eating. She'd take a bite and she'd run around the house. And this time we were sitting in Wendy's. Not a big old restaurant. We were in Wendy's. And she did the same thing. She took a bite and ran around Wendy's. And I told her, she's your precious. She's not theirs. Right now, she's working their nerves. So you have to, when I was 25, I'm not going to tell you, when I was 25, somebody said, I said, I don't know, because if I have a kid, I might end up in jail. Because, see, I just don't play with children. I love them, I will spoil them, but when I say no, I mean no. And somebody said, well, Kathy, you might be different than others. So I started at 20 watching parents with their children. I saw there's not enough follow through, a lot of threats. And kids know if you keep threatening, there's no follow through. They know they can get away with it. I had a coworker who she would always threaten her child. And that little girl needed Jesus. And she would do some stuff. And she would threaten her. And her birthday was coming up. And she says, I'm not going to do. And I said something about, girl, you're going to do. You're going to spend all this money on this birthday. And she said, Kathy, she's right here. I said, she know you're going to do it too. And it was around Christmas. And being a case manager, social worker with DCFS, I had to tell some moms to, you have to do some things. It's going to get uncomfortable. So I told this woman, I said, because she was acting real. Usually before Christmas, kids get real good. This child flipped it. She would just be the worst. I said, and she spent about $1,000 on this child. I said, if that was me, when she wake up on Christmas morning, all those toys and everything would be in the attic. There you too. And I said, because I knew, I wouldn't have bought it. Or if I bought it and she acted the food like that, I'd have taken it back and shown her, oh, that's at the store. But I told her, at least, put it in the attic until after kids go back to school. And what did you get? Nothing. Yeah, because you were bad. And if you have a child that is so ungrateful, you did that. You did that because, and you said, Brother Thaddeus, you said something last week, I think, about consequences. If you don't teach your child consequences, I'm going to give you the perfect example of what a child looked like that never faced consequences. And he is right now in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If you know who I'm talking about, kind of orange. So you cannot just get threats. Because my mother, she never said when we get home. Her thing was, her mantra, where you act the fool is where I act the fool. And then when you got home, if you made her mad enough, you might have got it again. And even with the school, the principal knew my parents. They didn't play because they had called my father. God help you. You were going to say?
No, I was just going to say that when you went back with the child running around the restaurant, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Our babies can be precious, but if we train them correctly, it's cool if you're going to let your child at home do it.
At home,
but
right.
you still should train them to know that
exactly
when they're out,
exactly.
You can't do that everywhere. And I think
exactly.
That's where a lot of the parents get lost at. Like I told you last year, this is basically my generation fault. I know Jackie and Kelly them going to get mad at me, but this is my generation's fault with a lot of this, with a lot of the parents, because like I said last week, we at the mantra of I'm not gonna do my kids. Like
That's not yours. The one before, because I even told you her mother she was Kojic, but Bishop Ford was her pastor. So my mother was like, she didn't take us. We was not in church 5 days a week, but she did teach us the Bible. Like I said, I never learned that now lay me down to sleep. No, she taught us the Lord's Prayer, and she taught us the Bible. But she did not teach us, all that stuff. Sister Jackie and then Evangelist.
We talk about sowing good seed into our children.
Yes.
But we also have to identify the bad seed in them.
You have to see your child the way they are.
Yes. You have to see it so that you can correct it.
Yeah. Because you got some kids that go to the school and tell the teachers, my baby's perfect. And you know your child is not perfect. So quit telling some stories.
You know what, the only thing I believe that when they're in their formative years and they're younger, they don't understand being different people everywhere. So you have to train them at home. How
Exactly.
you want them to act at church.
Exactly.
How you want them to act in the
Exactly.
Because they don't understand
Exactly.
people. See, and I'm going to say this. I pray we don't, nobody online gets offended. But this is what happens when you live one life at home and another life at
Did
church.
to
You
tell
try
the
to
truth,
teach them
shame the
two different
devil.
ways, and that's not
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
You have to live who you are has to be who you are at home.
But you know what that teaches them? What does that teach them? When they see
Manipulation.
when they see you one way out in front of other people and they see another way at home,
And then
they don't believe what you're saying to them.
And they don't respect the church. And they don't respect their teachers.
And they don't respect their parents.
And that's the thing about Christendom. Like, the Lord wants us to have a great education.
Yes.
He wants us to be respected, well respected in the community, which means you've got to be, and I realized I had to up my game as an educator. This year is my year to up my game as an educator, because you have to be distinguished wherever you are.
Right.
Not that I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to raise the bar, right? You got to raise the bar, because I'm not just raising the bar so that I can look good. I'm raising the bar so they can know that, man, you want to be saved? You can be saved and be a teacher. You can be saved.
Yes.
And
You can be saved and be
this.
anything.
And guess what? And God blesses you.
Yes.
And there's no difference. Because a lot of time we can be lackluster and mediocre at work and a wonder at the church. The children need to see excellence in every area. And
Yes.
I thank God even for Paul, because if we didn't need to be educated, God wouldn't have called Paul, because Paul went to the best schools.
Right.
He sat at the feet of Gamaliel. Gamaliel was a study of astrology, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Was that Gamaliel who studied astrology? He knew everything. He knew all of those things. But then the Lord brought him in, which gave him a hunger. He knew how to study. So I could bring that to the church. I know how to study, so I'm going to study God's word now.
Right.
I sat at the foot of Gamaliel.
Right.
I know how to do academic studying. So when you come and do the Bible, it's no different.
Right.
You've got to do the research.
Right.
You've got to research certain words of scripture, because there are things that are nuances that, okay, I got to study beyond this.
Exactly.
So it's important.
Exactly. I had a coworker, like I said, I work for DCFS. I had a coworker tell me, Captain, you have to speak their language, speak the slang. I said, no. I'm not, he said, you have to step down. I said, I'm not stepping anywhere. They need to learn how to step up. I want them to speak like they're, because I had a conversation with a young lady, and I think every few word was a non-curse word. And she says, I want a job. I says, how are you going to make it through the interview with the way you speak? And, I can do. I said, well, I've been here for 30 minutes talking with you, and you didn't. So I told him, I'm not going to talk slang. I didn't talk slang when I was a child, so I was an outlier. You know, I didn't fit, and I was okay with that. They told me what they called me square. I said, if not being square means being like you, then call me square. I'm good with that. But I wanted these kids to have someone who would speak to them and let them step up and up their game. Brother Thaddeus.
While you was talking, this scripture fell upon me.
Okay.
1 Peter 2:1 and verse 2. Therefore rid yourself of all malice, all deceit, and all hypocrisy, and envy, and all slander. And like newborns, long for pure milk of the word, so that by it you may grow in respect to salvation. The main word in there is respect.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no respect. The parents don't respect the kids don't respect
No.
the parent. Because
No.
the parent ain't trying to open the Bible, ain't
No.
trying to live right or lead right. The first
Right.
thing the parent want to say is, mama got a life too.
And
Daddy
that
got a life
is
too.
that's their
And
that's the, I
that
still
is
got my
true.
life. I still
But now your
that
life-
is their saying now. That is their saying for some time. Yes.
Yeah, but now your life is to raise these kids because God blessed you
They
with
didn't
them.
get that memo.
I don't think they understand
No.
the word love and what it means to have kids. I think they just think that we supposed to reprocreate. Yes.
Right.
But it's for a reason. And if you're not raising them right,
Happenstance. Yeah. Yeah.
they already growing in malice and deceit. You ain't got to teach a kid how to hide a cookie or, like, you don't. Like, think
Right,
about that. You got to
right.
teach them how to walk, how to talk. But when they want something, they know how to get to it.
Exactly. You know, my mother, she says, I regret teaching you respect. She said, because she always told me respect is earned. Now, I always say now, I gift it to you when I meet you. Now, it's up to you as whether you keep it or not. And I think I was like 12. And she used to send me to this hardware store to get light bulbs for our chandelier. And I was short back then. And I know there's Michael Wiley.
Praise God for height.
Exactly. So you had all these grown folks standing over me. And they coming in, get what they want, and the guy behind the counter seeing me there. And at one point, I just like, hey, my money spends just like theirs. And you had all these folks looking down at me, and I stood tall. This is what I want, and I need however many I needed. And she used to tell me, oh, I regret teaching you that. I says, I don't. I always say, you don't have to like me, but you're going to respect me. And like what Sister Evangelist Kelly was saying, and you always say, you have to be consistent with kids. You cannot be in and out. That makes them feel unstable. They feed on structure. That's why when they know, okay, dinner time is X time. We do this here. This is bad time. This is this time. Like we said, they needed 10 hours of sleep. And there was I forgot what state it was or city. They had school starting at like 7 in the morning. And they noticed that the productive level. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Productivity level of the kids were so lack. So they changed it to 8 o'clock. And it went up. Because if you don't get an adequate sleep, I'm sleep deprived now, pray for me. If you don't get enough sleep, it affects you. And if you, in your formative years, your brain is still growing, your body is still growing, and you sleep deprived, how was that day? I'm going to just do one day. How was that day in school going to work out? No. And let's just add this, and if you're hungry. They trying to stop feeding kids for breakfast. I think it should be free. Kids, breakfast and lunch. Feed these babies. What's the problem? What's the problem? Don't get me started on politics, because I can be on there for the rest of this thing. So, yes, make sure they have breakfast. And I love it when schools, go and gets the grain and feed these kids. Evangelist. They still need to hear you.
Thank you, sweetheart. But no, you know what? A lot of times, being on both sides of the coin, right now, education has to change. We have to shift, but it hasn't shifted yet. So we'll deal with that later. That's a whole different conversation.
Yes, it is.
Because of the fact that now we're in a different era.
Yes.
We're in the era of computers. One thing that, as we talked about having sleep, and we talked about having something to eat, which is important, taking away, yes, I am, but it's not. Taking away some of the computer at home, some of the social media,
I'm a component of that.
It is a good thing.
Yes, I agree.
It is not healthy, because now the school has adopted putting those social constructs of the new era in the school without changing the school. Now they have computers for their progress. I want to go on these different learning games, and they're on the computer. They now have some textbooks that are on the computer. And if we think about it, children cannot pay attention. It may not even be because you're not giving them what they need at home. If they are constantly scrolling, their brains are constantly going.
Right.
It's like this.
The synapses are firing.
And you're saying, I take them to church, I do this. They can't do it. They're doing this all day. TikTok all day. It's going. You have to make them stop.
I agree. I am.
It's hard.
Yes.
It ain't got nothing to do with you taking them to church and you
No.
praying for them. Because I didn't beat up my kids one time. Sit down with yourself. And sometimes if they are constantly in the TV, and if they're constantly on that, you have to have that understanding that there are other things at work. Those are portals too. We'll talk about that later.
I'm glad that when I was little, and I was the only one still home, I hadn't started yet. Everyone else had started school. My mother didn't put me in front of the television. She would be in the kitchen doing what she's doing, and I'm at the table with a pencil and a paper. But that's still, Saturday mornings, cartoons. I'm not going Saturday mornings, cartoons. But through the week, that television didn't come on. Maybe until her stories came on, but but you know what? We are, but I agree. There needs to be, and this is just me, there needs to be some time away from this. And they need to learn how to sit still in themselves. I'm going to
the thing is, what I've learned is that we also need to be honest. This is why we don't want you on the internet for this amount of time.
Right.
Because when we're not honest with them, they feel that too. They feel, oh, she's not telling me the truth. Here I am getting in trouble for being on some, on the social media. But if we're honest, I don't want you on social media because I want you focused on school. I don't want you to do what I did. I want you to be better than me, not like me. You know what I'm saying? If they know those things, it's been my experience, it made Kennedy better. Like, I wouldn't have never known, but it made her better by me just being honest with her.
Yes. A parent mind is they always want their child to do better than them. And what's wrong with what happened to family time? If everybody is doing this, when what's happening in the family? It's it's gone. It's gone. And we talk about, take them to the library, teach them reading to them when they're young, and when they learn to read. And at some level, you have teachers always have the kids read out loud. Let them read out loud at home so they can get used to that. Because I had a friend, I think we were in, I want to say, 6th grade. She would get so nervous reading out loud. She would stutter, and she didn't stutter. And she would squeeze my hand so tight, and I would whisper, "Pretend you're talking to me." And and I think I was sitting in front of her, so I was just turn a little so she can grab my hand, and she would squeeze me so tight when it was her turn to read, and I would just whisper, "Act like you're talking to me." And so she get through that section that she was supposed to read. So get them used to reading at home and ask questions.
But a lot of these parents not reading at home if it's not a text or a status. So a lot of these homes don't have books in them. I remember having Webster's and dictionaries and encyclopedias. If it ain't on this phone,
well, you know what? I'm gonna tell no lie. I got Kindle on everything I got. I have my Kindle.
Yeah.
Every computer, every tablet, I got my Kindle on.
But you see how you making it useful to benefit you. A lot of these parents giving them these phones and tablets just to get them out of their face.
Right.
And they not telling them how to use it and all that. So a lot of these, like Phil just said, a lot of these kids being babysat by tablets and phones.
They are. They're raising them. A lot of people letting their kids, their kids,
Hence
and
why
they
they
feel
don't know
like,
how to have
I got
emotion.
my kids all the latest and the greatest, so I'm a good parent. No, you Santa Claus. Yes. And so you setting them up for failure. Because when they get in school and you have the teacher have 25 students and you have not taught your child social skills, and they have to, and this one don't know social skills, that one don't know social skills, and you point out which ones, and I don't know if they have A's in every class. But if they don't have A's or enough, that classroom is chaos. It's just chaos. And how much learning is being done?
Remember when we was growing up and they asked you what you want to be? These kids really don't know nowadays. Like they don't see nothing. They're not.
They want a
experienced
social
with nothing.
influencer.
Yeah, and I ain't never seen a check from a. Yeah, so but that I got a 13-year-old nephew, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, you going to high school? Like, what you want to do?" Man, I don't know, and it's like
We're going to get to high school before this month is out, because it's to prepare yourself for further.
Because now, as I'm telling you, I really want you to be prepared. Education.
Yes.
The educational structure has to change. They're going to force the change. They're trying to get rid of public schools.
Yes.
They're forced to change. So you're going to be forced to be that parent at home. You're going to be forced to teach them those social constructs at home. But what if they don't have that at their home? They've got to get
Right.
it here. They got to get it at the church.
And that's why I said that village. That village is important. Because like you said, they are trying to get rid of public education. So if you don't have the financial means to put your child in school, that's why they opened up, a lot of states have opened up, lowered the age of working factories and overnight shift. 14 years old, your child can work overnight shift. This is Amber.
So I would just say, I understand and I agree with what everyone's saying, but what about that child, whose parents do give them like the tablet? Because this day and time is different. Like I remember when I was growing up, we were blessed enough where my mom was able to stay home
Right.
and teach us. So now it's a different time. Everything is sky high. Mom and dad have to work full time. So it's like, how do you combat that? I mean, some parents, of course they want their kids to do better and be better, but what about that household we just can't because mom and dad both have to work full
That's
time,
why-
overtime, all that.
Exactly. That is life. And that's what we were talking about in the beginning about that village. When you build that village for your child. Because even if you are not working really hard like this, you don't know everything. So with the people within your village, one might be, have this knowledge or another, Brother Mike. Oh, good morning, Sister Mother Michelle. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just didn't. I don't want us to get to a point where we are demonizing technology.
Oh no, we have to learn it.
Right. So, because it's
Yeah,
part of the culture now, right?
yeah,
I think the important thing is that just like any tool, there are proper and improper ways of using it.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you get a screwdriver or if you get a butter knife, it's for cutting butter, but some of us use it to try to, like a
Hey,
screwdriver.
I put in my entertainment center with a
Hey,
butter knife.
I've done numerous.
Yes, I did.
I put together a lot of
14
things.
years
with a butter
old, I
knife.
put together my.
My
yeah.
point is that it's not the tablet or the phone itself. It's proper use of those things.
Yes, and everything that
how
you
are
have.
and how are you showing your child how to utilize it? Like, we have encyclopedias coming up. Who going to a library nowadays? I'm not going to go, but you came up in the Dewey Decimal System. You understand what I'm saying? So I know.
He was trying to shame me.
No.
He was trying to shame.
No, but I'm just saying, the fact that I mentioned it proves that I know what it is.
He was trying to shame me. Thank you.
And all of this, so I understand that. But even now, even me, I'm not going to go to a library if I literally have all the resources I need in the palm of my hand. It's how do you teach them to utilize that tool?
Right.
You understand what I'm
That is
saying?
important. That is important. Because everything tools, books are tools. Like she used dominoes was a tool.
Right.
Everything is a tool. You can't just say, okay, here.
Right.
Structure it.
You got to
Use it.
Like,
Use it to develop your child to thrive.
Absolutely.
Because that's the goal.
Parents work, and to what Amber was saying, parents do work. However, even though, because both my parents work, and even though they work, you still have a measure of responsibility at home. You got to come home.
Yeah.
You got to make sure they own their stuff. You know what I'm saying? Some kids are not fortunate enough that they have to be latchkey kids. So you got to, when I say beat them and they will not die, put the fear of God in them. Touch him if you want to.
Okay. Let me.
See, now she's having flashbacks. Look, here's the thing. The most important thing, like that parent thing, and we talk about this all the time with her being a teacher, and even with him, like actually all of them work in schools. The thing that I've noticed is that when that parent participation isn't there,
Yes.
that's where the lack comes into play.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So as a parent, I've been there where both parents are working, and you got Nana watching the kids or whoever. There is still that responsibility on you as a parent to make sure that your child is equipped in whatever way you not afraid, but you have to make sure that they are equipped in order to succeed.
Exactly.
What we did with them during the summertime, because most kids, whatever information they obtain in school, they lose 70% of that over
That
the
is
summer.
true. That is true.
So what we used to do is during the summertime, we used to actually have little activity books, like workbooks for them.
Right.
And every day they would do a page. Before you do
Okay.
anything else, let's get this page out the way.
Right.
And in most cases, this one here would fall asleep in class because he was bored. And it was
Yes.
because the stuff that they was doing,
Was
we had
not-
already done with
It wasn't
them.
challenging.
And so he was just
Yes.
like, he would rather help the other kids. That you can't do that. He was like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. So that as long, and I get it. Sometimes we do let technology babysit our kids, you know, because sometimes you have to. Let's just keep it a buck. But
It's handy.
But there is ultimately a responsibility on you as a parent to make sure that even with those tools, you can find ways to help them utilize those things so that it can give them an advantage or at least help them in their endeavors in school. That's all. No, because
Mother
you can talk
Michelle
about beating the
said
kids again.
many times our fun times, but yet learning as a child. Mom was cooking or busy in kitchen. We sat at the table. I said that. She give us a word like dictionary, and she did, and we had to see how many words we could get out of that word, and we'll win a quarter. I didn't know about the quarter. I forgot
Can I
about
say
that.
something too?
Let-
Okay, I know we got to finish, but look, I'm Brother Mike got my attention when he started demonizing technology.
We're not
because-
demonizing technology.
No, I'm just saying the church has always been bad about new stuff.
Right.
When you
Everything
know,
old.
I grew up in Arkansas, and I can remember when the telephone came out. Oh, I don't want to talk. People just talking about that. They're just talking about that, right? Then people started getting. I mean, really, I remember when we first got our telephone. Oh no, I don't talk on the telephone. Then the television, when they became, that's a one-eyed demon. That was all. And what ended up happening was the children in the church were falling behind. Because you could get a television and watch Sesame Street, the electric company, and all this, but they were preaching against TVs in the church.
Right.
You could get a telephone and you could call. They're preaching against telephone church. The church has always been behind and been afraid of something new because we don't teach. We want to prophesy, shout,
Right.
and tune up, and we don't have no understanding.
Right.
We don't have no understanding. Anything that utilized can be utilized for good or for bad.
Exactly.
And we get right back to dominion. Dominion can be utilized for good or for bad. And we were afraid of it. Oh, that's witchcraft. That's this or that. While everybody else was using dominion to keep us in the fields.
Right.
To keep us subverted and keep us underneath. So we definitely want to take advantage of every technology piece, every technology
yes.
tool
Yes.
that's coming forth, and that's looking for. We want to be on the front end of it.
Exactly. That's what we were saying. We want to give our kids whatever they can to thrive and grow, especially with the narrative that's going on today that they want to get rid of education. Public school. So we want to counteract that and make sure that our kids are not on that pipeline to prison. I'm looking, and that way. So we want to use whatever's available to give our kids what they need so that they can succeed as they go through. Deacon.
No, I was just saying that's why it's best for us parents and adults, to stay polished up on our game for our education. So if something like that do happen, we can actually teach our kids what they need to be taught.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly. That village. We get back to the village. Every kid needs a village, and because, like I say, you don't have everything. Because we were teaching them how to study, like Evangelist was saying. Teach your kids how to study. Make education a priority. Make it a priority, not a happenstance. That is, my mother used to say, you get in there and you learn for yourself. Because I don't think I ever remember anybody want to help me with my homework. I had to get in there and do it myself. I was in class. I came home and did homework.
Just as we're intentional about planting good seeds in our kids, we have to be just as intentional about teaching them how to use the internet. So if they have a question, okay, we all know that it's Google, right? But we can always, and I'm just encouraging people now, we can always say, you find it and tell me what it means. If they have a question from school or anything like that, that gives them that idea that maybe I need to start looking and searching for myself when I want to know the answer to something. Because we know now Google got everything.
Yeah.
It's got their grade level, anything that they want to know, but we still want them to tell you, that lets you know that they're using it for good.
You know, I'm going to give you all a goal of mine or a desire of mine is that we set our kids up for advancement because they want them to lack. And I disagree with that. I am completely against that. I don't care what you say. They don't want, because they say, oh, the way things are set up is so that everybody else can fail. Well, in this time when they're looking to fail, I'm looking for everybody to succeed and soar. I'm looking for everyone to soar. So I'm shaking. Yeah, it's 43. Okay, well, thank you all for participating in Sunday school. I really enjoyed it today, and we're going to continue with this education for the month because we want to make sure that our kids have everything they need to not only start school. We want to break that school to prison pipeline. We want to make sure that our kids, we're the most educated group, and we want to make sure that continues and set our kids up to have all the knowledge that's out there. We have too many people in this church that has so many diverse skills that pass that down to the kids. Thank you. And if you're on the south side, 71st and Stewart, where Mike is gone? What's that? 354 West 71st Street. I always say 71st and Stewart. Same difference. 71st and Stewart. Come by, 10 o'clock, service begins. And thank you, and have a blessed day.